We are joined by Rick Horrow, CEO of Horrow Sports Ventures, the managing editor for sports at the Library of Congress, the author of 4 books, and the man behind The Power of Sports, available on many Fox regional affiliates. Now, Rick, between Major League Baseball and the NCAA Tournament, there's a lot of, over $1 billion being spent by T-Mobile and AT&T, and AT&T's number to me for the NCAA Tournament is staggering. How much they're spending. I mean, they're spending over $800 million during March Madness, and you've got Major League Baseball. They just signed a new deal through 2022, which obviously is an enormous amount of money too. First of all, is what AT&T is doing in reaction to T-Mobile, and where is Sprint in all this? They're on the sideline.
Sprint is on the temporary sidelines because they spent $1 billion on the NASCAR series, and they're not smarting from it, but, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, maybe it does, but you can pass the cost on with all of this stuff, but there are ceilings. So, listen, it is a titanic contest between the giants. AT&T, as you said, $829.6 million just on advertising spend during this year's tournament. That's a lot of money. And T-Mobile, not only with baseball, but remember, they named the arena in Vegas, the T-Mobile Arena, and on and on and on. So it is a nuclear war that benefits the sports industry.
Well, and good for AT&T, good for T-Mobile. Right now, I'm not the biggest fan of Sprint because of something that they did to me. I had a contract expire, a lease expire after 24 months. Never notified me I've been paying the lease because I thought it was for 48 months. I guess I should have read the finer print. But anyway, I'm dealing with that. So whatever they do, good for them.
Let me understand. You're upset at them because it expired. You missed when it expired, and they forgot to notify you that you need to be careful? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying, here's what I would equate it to. If I had now tell me if I'm wrong. You're an attorney. If I had a mortgage or a loan and they kept taking my money or charging me and sending me bills, wouldn't that be wrong? That's how I equate it.
Yes, but it depends on when the loan expires. Oh, it really did expire in 24 months, and you thought it was 44, right?
48, yeah, and I have paid 19 months beyond when the lease expired.
No, I mean, they need to give that back because the perfect world is you could argue that you're bright enough to overcome that, but just look at you. I mean, you're
exactly.
You're walking.
You're taking advantage. I'm just some dolt out here in the tundra.
I'll take the case. I'll take it.
I'll tell you what.
I know you. I can plead stupidity on your behalf really well. By the way, I'll take the case.
Now, I would offer to any attorney, you could keep all the. I've paid over $1,800 that I shouldn't have. Any attorney can keep that money. It's the principle of the thing.
I'm going to give it to you to pay for your pending higher education, man. You need it more than I do.
You are my hero. Very funny. All right, now here's the other thing I wanted to ask you about with the NCAA Tournament. You had noted in this wonderful list of top stories for the week that Nike had 40 this year, 47 last year, outfitted in jerseys and shoes that were in the original field. How big a deal is it to these? I mean, what do you know where the numbers are going into the Sweet 16? And it must be huge if somebody could somehow overtake Nike, Under Armour, which is at 17 teams, and you got, Adidas is down there, and they're 10 in 2018, now 11 this year. Nike is still dominating, right? But if one of those other teams or Under Armour or Adidas winds up getting a team that wins the national championship, that's got to be huge for them, right?
Well, yeah, of course it does. But Nike, it's very important for them to continue to keep what they perceive as their market share. So Nike's always been at about 70%, and Adidas and Under Armour gobble up the next 30%, changing a little bit. Nike is down. Both of them are up. Under Armour is more than Adidas, and that's the way the trend will continue. The problem is these three behemoths are spending so much money to get their market position, it plows into profits. Now, that doesn't mean they're losing money on it, but it is an ego fest.
Yeah. Now, the money that, Manny Machado and Bryce Harper and now Mike Trout, the Trout money is incredible. The fact that he's got a 12-year deal worth more than $430 million. These are the big three. Harper and Trout, I don't see anyone next year that would have a free agent deal, but this is the bar. Is this going to be tough for the next free agent who's not even at their level? They're going to want something close to this. I mean, is this going to create a major problem in baseball? Because there's a ripple effect down.
Yeah, the problem has been created by the market. So hard to know what it means by a problem. But, if Chris Bryant wants 10 years, and if the Cubs want to stay relevant, they better give him 10 years. And so, that's going to happen next year and the year after that. So it's not the money, because the money's always been astronomical, and we could play back, replays of interviews we did or anybody else over the last 30 years. The same question, same answer. The issue is the years. And when you think about it, Artie Moreno paid half as much to buy the franchise as he did to sign Trout, which is just incredible when you think about it. But listen, this is their main asset. It's bricks and mortar. The issue, though, is that bricks and mortar can't run the risk usually of falling down after 6 years. These guys can. They're insured by the club. They're insured by everybody, but that insurance doesn't guarantee happiness, and so they've got a big issue.
And I know you're a football fan. You're South Florida. You're a Dolphins fan. And this new rule, I think what they've done, they've opened a Pandora's box, a can of worms, whatever you want to call it, with this new instant replay rule where a coach can challenge, and in the final 2 minutes it's taken over by the officials. Virtually on just about any pass play, you could argue that's pass interference. So, I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm going to be flinging that flag. Do you get just one challenge for that? Or if you get it right, you get more? That's the one thing I didn't see that had clarity. Do you know?
Well, I think it's the same rule as it before, I think. So we'll have to see. Meaning, you reinstate your challenge if you're right. You don't get additionals. But if you lose it, you lose it. So, but let's assume that's right. I'm going to assume the way it's going to be enforced is that the presumption is very strongly on the official's judgment call or otherwise, and it's going to be incredibly difficult to overrule any of those. It probably won't be difficult to overrule an obvious one. I know it's Pandora's box, but that's, I guess, precisely why they tailored the rule, which was the Rams-Saints game and that one play. And so that one play is going to mean a lot of angst for officials. But then you could say, well, if they got it right, they wouldn't have the angst.
Well, I honestly, I really think if you're an offensive, I think this favors the offense in a huge way. Because, again, you got guys grabbing down the field all the time, and it's just not caught because usually they're doing it based on or now, okay, here's the thing I'm not clear on either. If it's defensive holding and not pass interference, can they then change that, or is it just for pass interference, I assume?
I think they'll probably keep it in the box. I don't know the answer to that yet because I haven't read it specifically, but I do think that they're not going to be able to, like if you see a face mask grab and you're looking for pass interference, I don't think they can widen the inquiry because that's going to be an even more Pandora's box. But listen, if we defined the world based on things that you don't think are clear, it'd be an awful unclear world, right?
Hence my comment about Sprint and my contract with them. Good.
Hey, yeah, see, this is perfect. All we need to do to prove this case in court is just play these 5 minutes back.
Exactly. That's why I'm setting it up like this. Wise guy. That's funny.
Thank you.
And by the way, I mentioned about how staggering it was for AT&T. I also find it staggering that already NFL players have signed $1.7 billion in new contracts, and they're not. I mean, obviously, there's more to come, but the big contracts have been signed. But that's a lot of money going around.
Yeah, well, but let's remember also that the one thing that we thought would happen after your guy in Minnesota was a hefty increase in the guaranteed money. And signing bonuses are up, but the guarantees are not. So that's one of those things that we thought might happen, but it did not.
Well, and isn't it more likely to be with the quarterbacks than any other position for guaranteed money?
Clearly, because the guaranteed money ties into the face of the franchise, and the quarterback is the face of the franchise. But, we've got one quarterback, and that's the standard right now. And I think there are a lot of teams that are just saying, we can't afford to do that with our players because it changes the entire structure.
Exactly. All right, well, Rick, as always, I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you next week when you are in Minneapolis for the Final Four, and we may actually get above zero. No, we actually have been in like the 40s and 50s, so
don't do that to me.
No,
please,
it'll be fine.
Don't even kid about that.
Right,
you stay in that tunnel. You guys, the Groundhog Day stuff. you go in those little tunnels in what August, and you don't come out again until May.
Well, we have skyways. We go above the ground. We don't stay in the tunnels.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, man. Right. All right, see you next week.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Take care. Thanks.